We are a couple weeks into Season 3, and I think it's about time that we do a tier list. Starting off, we're going to look at our Vanguards, our beefy frontline boys and girls. Talking about in the lower ranks, it is S tier Magneto, #1 tank. He is the best tank to pair with every other tank in the game. He's one of the few tanks that solo tanks really well, and he is a character that every player in the game should know how to play. If you don't know how to play Magneto, you're making mistakes. Get on the game, learn how to play Magneto. Super important. Beside him, just a little bit lower in the low ranks, is Emma. Emma is really strong. She's super dominant in the tanking scene. It doesn't matter where your skill level lies at. Emma fits really well into your playstyle and is just such a good tank to pick up. She makes major changes to the game because of just how threatening she is, and I highly recommend you pick her up as well. I think every player should know how to play these two characters above every other characters in the game. When we're talking about the high ranks, how does it change? Well, in the higher ranks, Emma's #1. She has more control over the game itself. She shuts down more potential killer combos, and she's just a little bit more useful the better you get at the game. Magneto is really strong, super powerful. He's right beside her. She just bumps up a little tiny bit above him once you get a little bit more skill at the game. And this is pretty much just it for Vanguards in the S tiers. Both high tier and low tier, you should be picking up Emma and Magneto. Now, if you don't want to pick up these two as your Vanguards and you want something else, let's talk about A tier. These guys are almost as good. They just can't quite keep up with our S tiers. In the lower ranks, if we're talking about this, I am first going to say Thing. Thing is a playstyle that's a lot of fun. He's pretty impactful. His slams and his ability to jump around the field are really good, and players in these tier ranks are very bad about taking him down and stopping him. So even if you don't have the best timings, he's really useful and rewarding to play. He's a great frontliner, and he's one of the best dive tanks in the game. Beside him, I would put Penny Parker. Penny Parker is really good into lower tier players. The Mind Nest is insanely strong right now. Her team up with Rocket is super, super good. So many mines out on the field. Players are really bad about playing into them. They get shut down, and Penny can lock down targets. She's got a lot of control over the game. She's a really, really good pick right now, and you see her banned a lot in all sorts of ranks. I highly recommend players pick her up. It's really easy to climb with her, especially if you want to get yourself all the way up to Diamond. The next A tier pick I'm going to say is Strange. Doctor Strange, I have a hard time putting him below A tier because he's just so good in so many situations. He is outshined by the two above him, but he is definitely in line with the others in A tier. He has good damage, a very big game-changing ult, and his portal play is just unrivaled. Portals are super valuable. Even just the portal play in low ranks of portaling back to the objective of after a wipe, it just makes a difference. Now, my next pick is going to be a little bit controversial, but I am putting Thor in A tier for the low ranks. Thor is not a great Vanguard, but Thor is very potent in these ranks. He does not get locked down the way that he does in the higher tiers of play. His lightning hands is extremely impactful, and Thor has a very high win rate in the lower ranks. He does a lot of damage, he's very bulky, and bruisers are really, really strong in these ranks. He actually maintains a above positive win rate in every rank in the game right now, but he's played quite a bit differently and not at all like a Vanguard once you get up to the top ranks. But in these ranks, I would definitely recommend picking him up if you want to easily pub stomp on people, because he does a good job of that. For the high ranks, this is going to get a little bit crowded. I still think Thing is A tier right now. I think that this change to allow him to jump to targets and the Haymaker knocking flyers out of the sky has jumped Thing's usefulness. I used to put Thing like way down here because he just didn't have anything he did better than anybody else, and he really got outshone. Now he makes a big difference. He's really good at play. He feels really effective, and you see him a lot, and you see him win a lot. He's doing really, really well. Beside him, I would put Venom. Venom's in a great spot right now. He's very beefy. He's really strong. He's a little bit weak into Emma, but he's probably the best dive tank into Emma. He does so much work right now, and he is a menace on the field. Beside him is Cap, a little bit lower, mostly because he gets shut down more by Emma, and he doesn't quite have the same level of damage and effectiveness that Venom has going on up there, but he's still really, really good. And then I'm putting Groot. Now, Groot needs Emma and Wolverine to be banned to be here. but I still think he deserves to be up in the A tiers of rank. He forces the enemy team to change how they play. He has great control. He has an amazing ult that you can combo off of that's really easy to land and mess people up. And he is super, super beefy. Really, really good tank still. And then just below him, I'm putting Strange. I think Strange is always going to be A tier or higher. They would have to nerf him pretty effectively to make him not up here. Portal play, super important. All tanks know how to play a Strange. The Eye of Agamotto is game changer and gets used all the time. His damage output's solid. He has one of the few ways to nuke and destroy healers in their ultimates. Still a really strong character. For the B tiers, over here, we got Venom and Cap for pretty much the same reasons over here. They are strong. Players in Platinum and below, they're not very good at dive tanks. They're not good at being a dive tank, and these two don't have quite the same disruption pattern that Thing has with his Yancey Street Charge. They require a little bit more nuance and work to make them effective, and you don't see them have as big of impact on games. For the high ranks, we're looking at Penny Parker. She is A tier on some maps, and she's a little bit worse on other maps, and that kind of lands her into the B tier. Her team up is still really strong, but players are way better at dealing with her nest. She does have good lockdown and control. It really depends on her team and who she's with, and she isn't good in all situations. S is like excellent in all situations. A is good in most situations. You gotta drop down to B once there's situations that you aren't as effective, and I think that's where she's kind of landing. Beside her there, I would put Hulk. Hulk just isn't keeping up with the other three dive tanks up here. He isn't having the same level of impact. He makes Namor really good right now, which is great. But other than that, his impact on the game hasn't been felt as effectively, and he's really starting to weaken off as they've been buffing up the other dive tanks. Going on to C tier in low ranks, that's where Hulk stands. It's the same thing going on here. It's just he's worse than the other two, and so he has to be a tier below. He just can't keep up as well with what the other two are doing. And again, just as you drop in the ranks, you're doing things even worse and worse with Hulk. He can't keep up. And I wouldn't currently say that there is a C tier Vanguard on the high rank scale. I think there's just enough of a gap before we get to the D tier. For low rank, the only Vanguard I'm putting in D tier is Groot. I think Groot messes up his team. I think poorly played Groots are a menace. You're really slow on putting down your walls. You're just not as effective. I don't think you should start considering playing this character until you've managed to climb yourself at least to Platinum. That's where I would say you can start kind of getting Groot into your rotation, and then he jumps up quite a bit, obviously, once you get above there. And over for the higher ranks, Thor just falls down into D tier. There are very few Thor players that are really pushing up the win rate, and they don't play Thor like a Vanguard. They have two other Vanguards on the team, and Thor is used as a bruiser that is just a wrecking ball of a team. He is very limited in what he can do, easily shut down. The new change to his Awakening rune, making it so he can cancel it, has jumped his win rate because those top-end Thors are now even better at playing him and can weave that in a lot more effectively, but I just don't see him having that big of an impact at all in the games. Moving on to our Duelists. Our Duelists for S tier, we're talking about Wolverine in the low ranks. Wolverine's broken right now. Even if you don't know how to play him particularly well, he's just so strong. He does so much damage. He shreds people. He's a menace. He's a nightmare to deal with, and he will remain that way. I still think in the lower ranks, Punisher is up there in the S tier. Punisher has so much damage output. He can just sit down and do the work. He teaches you all the things you need to do, and he's effective in every range. Still a really good character, solid to be picked up and played. Namor saw some buffs this patch, and it has made him quite a bit better in the low ranks. The reliability of his squid is huge. He's mostly here if you have the team up, and maybe here if you don't, but I still think he's pretty here. I think the amount of damage he does is really crazy. He can do a headshot into secondary combo and take out targets. Even if you aren't particularly great, Namor is still a major good pick. Up there with them is Star-Lord. Star-Lord's really easy to get his ult set up, and his ult changes games in the lower tiers. There's just so much poor play in the lower tiers that Star-Lord's auto aim and flying around is a menace and makes a huge difference. Really easy to play, easy to pick up, and good to be effective on. I honestly think if you're going to be diving, you should be diving on Magic in the low tiers. She is safe, reliable, easy to play. Her combos are easy to perform. She can really brawl and play really well in all sorts of scenarios. Magic is super strong. Over in the high tier, it doesn't change too much. First up, Wolverine. Still broken as heck. 56% ban rate or something ridiculous like that. Really strong. The team up just makes him stronger, but he doesn't need it. He's crazy right now. Insane. I think Phoenix is probably up there. I think Phoenix might be the number 2 right now. She does crazy good damage if you play her well. If you are in the mid ranges, comboing really well with her, I've seen her do some disgusting amounts of damage. I've changed my opinions a little bit on her. I was putting her there last week, and now I've bumped her up a little bit higher. I do think she's a menace in the game. Psylocke, right up there with them. Psylocke's combos are easy to perform. She's super sneaky. She's great at flanking. Her ultimate's impactful. She's a really strong character that's easy to play. And if you compare it to all of the other divers, it's just easier to get the output you need out of her. And she's always so good. Torch is up there, of course, with the caveat that you have to get rid of hit scanners that can take him out. But Torch is a menace. The flame fields down on the ground are huge. He does so much damage. He is really hard to be taken down. They have some really cool tech with him to keep him at maximum speed while still doing all of his damage output. And the really good torches are disgusting. It's just so much damage. I really do think Namor is also there. Flanking Namor is in a super strong spot right now. Hulk is way better once you get into the higher ranks, so you see the Namor Hulk team up more often, and he gets that headshot into secondary one-shot combos on people super often. We're seeing flanking Namor have a really high win rate, and I think he has major impact on the game. She's only ever gotten buffed, and she keeps getting buffed. Hela is still S tier. I think Hela's getting outshone because Phoenix is more fun to play. And I think that's it. Hela might be higher in the ranks here. It's hard to say because I think a lot of Hela mains have moved over to just playing Phoenix. She's more fun to play, and her ultimate shuts down Hela's ultimate, which is not fun. So Hela is a little bit disappointed in the fact that her ultimate just gets blown away by Phoenix, and she's just not as fun to play because the rewarding feel of playing Phoenix is just a higher reward. And I still think Punisher is here. Punisher did see some nerfs. Punisher's got a pretty bad win rate right now, but I also know Punisher is a character that losing teams switch to very often. When you're losing the game, a lot of players switch to Punisher to try and fix the problem. And the problem often wasn't your character, and I think that tanks his win rate a little bit more than it should. He's still in a really good spot, does crazy good damage. I think he belongs up there with the other S tiers. So that's a lot. That's a lot of S tiers. So let's talk about A tier. A tier, low ranks, Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic is really hard to kill, does good damage, really good survivability, great peel, played really easily. There's no complication really in his kit. You can get better at his kit, but I don't think that there is significant floor. The floor isn't very high, so it's pretty easy to play him, and you can be pretty effective there as Mr. Fantastic. Beside him, I would probably put Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier does good work in the low ranks. Players are really bad about countering his ultimate. He just has a good, reliable kit. He doesn't really have any counters. He's a solid character. He's really good to play, and he always has impact on the games. Then I would probably say Moon Knight. Lower tiers, Moon Knight is a menace. He's really easy to get a lot of damage out. His combos are easy to perform. His ultimate is easy to get big wins out of. You often see Moon Knight as the top damage dealer on his team and gets a lot of final hits and impacts the game greatly. Then I would say Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is pretty no-brain to be able to play and can just get a lot of value. You constantly see players in the low tiers complaining about how they instantly died to a Squirrel Girl. The damage is really high. Her ultimate is super strong when it can't get shut down. Nobody's shooting at it and it's just running around causing chaos. Really, really good. Squirrel Girl makes a huge difference in the games. This is where I put Hela for lower tiers, just because your accuracy is low enough that you're just not getting the full access out of Hela, and same with Phoenix. Both these two go into the A tiers. It's really hard for you to get the full value out of them. That puts them up into S tier just because your accuracy isn't high enough. You're not landing 60+% shot of your shots, so they're a little weaker. In the A tiers, I would put Iron Man. He still does pretty much all the work that he did before. Players are still really bad about shooting flyers out of the sky effectively. The hit scanners aren't as dominant as they can be, and he just becomes a problem. Storm, really, really good. Her ultimate is a game changer, especially at these ranks when players are bad about managing it. She's Great damage. Great damage. Strong character. I would say Psylocke goes here mostly just because people have really bad dive timing, and Psylocke isn't as safe as Magic, and I would drop her down just a touch here. She still has pretty easy to perform combos. It just isn't as easy to play when you don't really know what you're doing. And then finally, I would put Scarlet Witch here. I would put Scarlet Witch in A tier here. Her team up with Strange is really, really good. A lot of players are willing to play Strange if you just ask them to. A lot of the tank players at this rank are willing to switch over to Strange. She is easy to play, easy to get good value out of, and just a menace on the field. If we go over to the high ranks, I am going to say, and it's going to be controversial, Panther. Panther's got a really, really high win rate right now. Panther forces your enemy team to change how they play, forces healers to hold abilities, to just hope to survive what Panther can do. He's hard to track. He's not as bad as a lot of people are saying. You're going to see a lot of people talking about Panther right now. He is one of the most banned characters. He's really making a huge difference right now, and I think Panther is better than a lot of people think. Then Winter Soldier, he's always going to be good. He's always going to be reliable. He's a lot of people's go-to. He hasn't really been nerfed. He got a buff, I think, as well. He's just a good character. Really good to play. Magic goes here. Magic and Psylocke are both really, really solid. I think Psylocke is a little bit more impactful when played at their best, and Magic is a little bit worse when played at their best kind of deal, and that's where she falls off just a little bit, but it's not very much. Magic is very, very threatening. Mr. Fantastic is also A tier. He's still super good. I think he's really hard to kill. He has great damage output. He's very survivable. They keep feeling like they need to nerf him just to kind of deal with him. He definitely is doing work, and I think he belongs right now in the A tiers. Storm right now, disgusting win rate. I would almost S tier her except for just the power level of Hela and Phoenix. Kind of keep her in check and drop her down a little bit to the A tier. She's got a really high win rate. I don't think players are dealing with her particularly well. Really, really strong character. And then finally, and another pick a lot of people I think are sleeping on that shouldn't be, Iron Fist. Iron Fist is a tank shredder. He is so good into Emma. He is so good into Magneto. He is so good into Thing. He does major work on the front lines. Players just aren't playing him enough. I think he has a really solid win rate and a really good character in general. They haven't really nerfed him too badly. I think he's just not used very well. So that's the end of A tier there. There's not nearly as many A tiers in the higher ranks as there are in the lower ranks. Quite a few of these players fall down quite a bit once players get a lot better at the game. For our B tiers over here, we're talking about Panther. You're just not fast enough. You can't perform as 180s well enough. You fail your combo more often, and you don't get your insta-kills and get out nearly as often once you're in the lower ranks, and I think he would be a little bit higher if people could be fast enough, but they just can't. With him is going to be Torch. I don't think people use the fields well enough. I don't think people don't really use any of his techs very well. His dive tech, his super speed tech, like using his fields appropriately is a really big part of it. You're not getting enough ultimates. You're not getting enough fire tornado usage. You're not doing these special combos of like doing an initial secondary fire into ultimate, so that first secondary is also a fire tornado kind of stuff. Like you're not playing him to his best, and if he's not played to his best, he's not as good. And it's a pretty significant drop. It's a pretty significant drop from S all the way down to B. And then I would put Hawkeye here. One hit headshot Hawkeye just spraying into the mist in the lower tiers is still super impactful. You end up taking players off the field all the time by accident or by intention. But either way, he's a solid character. There's just a bunch that outshine him. On the other side, we see a bunch of A tiers or S tiers over here drop down. So I am going to say first off, I think is Star-Lord. The team up with Mantis and Adam Warlock probably carry this quite a bit, but he's got a solid win rate. And he still is pretty darn impactful. He's really easy to play, easy to get good value out of. I think he just starts to get outshined. I think Iron Man's too easily taken out to be much higher than this. I think Storm's just more powerful generally in the game, which is why she can maintain up there, but Flyers are not as effective, and he took that nerf hammer. He's not getting as much value out of his effects. I would also put Hawkeye here because really good Hawkeyes are nightmares to deal with. I just don't think he's keeping up with the other two major snipers. And so he just nicely sets to B tier. B tier is solid. B tier are great characters. And then another one a lot of people aren't going to agree on, I'm putting Black Widow here. I think Black Widow is not played as well as she could be. I think she is a season 0 Wolverine situation where everybody thinks that she's bad, but she's actually in a pretty solid spot. Her kick combo into headshot is super potent. Players that are getting really good at her are finding out how good she is at anti-dive, how good she is at flanking. There's lots of ways to play Black Widow other than just being the ranged sniper, and it's starting to get some attention. I've seen some things. I've seen some nasty, nasty plays. Going into the C tiers, I just put Iron Fist over here in the low ranks. Low rank Iron Fists are not impactful at all. They don't seem to really do much in the game at all. Once in a blue moon, you see one go crazy, but for the most part, they're not playing him to his strengths. They're not really using him as the high pressure tank slayer that he can be. Countering Emma and things like that. He's just not used for that. You're barely seeing him being good. And for the high tiers, this is where I put Squirrel Girl and Moon Knight. Both of them are very ult reliant. The ults aren't nearly as effective once you get into the higher tiers. Onks are shut down. Squirrel Tsunami's shut down. Both the characters just fail to see a lot of great success when played at the highest ranks. In D tier, we're putting Black Widow, of course, into the D tiers. Players in these ranks are not doing the disgusting plays that I was talking about over here. They're barely doing anything at all with her. She is inconsequential character in every one of your games. Most of the time she's a throw pick because the person was upset about something that happened in a previous game or something like that. Like, she's just not played well at all. And Spider-Man's down here. You're too slow. You can't perform his combos. You don't really know what you're doing. You're easily shut down. Everybody knows the 0 and 15 Spider-Man. In the high tiers, this is where Scarlet Witch goes, and also Spider-Man. So Scarlet Witch, her kit just doesn't match high tier play. It has to be a certain level of power for how automated it is, and high tier, it just gets shut down too easily. Even with her team up with Strange, which puts her like way up here in the lower ranks, it's just not good enough. Her win rate is atrocious, and she's not doing great. And then Spider-Man, I again think, put that effort into somebody else. If you put the amount of work you put into Spider-Man to learn Black Panther, you would be an S tier Black Panther kind of deal. Like, he's too much work to play. His window is too tight. It's just not worth playing him. And finally, we got our strategists. So for S tier strategists in the lowest of ranks, I am putting Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger are super easy to pick up and play. They can be fully impactful from all players. You see Cloak and Dagger's pick rate is substantial. She's picked all the time because she is safe, easy to play. The cloak aspect of it is rewarding enough. The ult is strong enough. Everything's good about Cloak and Dagger, and they play well in the lower ranks. Beside them is Rocket. Rocket's really easy to pick up and play. The impactfulness of his respawn beacon is really high. Players aren't great about focusing down his ultimate, so you see him get a lot of value out of his ult at the lower ranks like this. Both these two are easy to pick up and easy to be fully effective on, even when you have bad timing, bad aim, and stuff like that you're dealing with in Platinum and below. Over on the high tier side, I'm going to say it is Luna Snow. Her ultimate is insane. She still has one of the highest pick rates by far, and she still has a really solid win rate with that really high pick rate. Beside her, I am going to say is Loki. Loki's super impactful. His green is crazy. He can steal ultimates. We all know Loki's crazy. And then Invisible Woman. Her control over the battlefield is mental. The amount of players and characters and whatnot that she shuts down is crazy. She's really, really good. Her ult is weaker than these two are able to do on that side of things, but I think her battlefield control is just insane. Then we drop down to A tier, and that's where I am going to say that Loki is over here on the lower ranks. I think bad clone placement, poor timing of using your immunity field, and poor aim is all going to make him just not perform as well as he could. If you're good at Loki and you play him in the low ranks, you're going to dominate. But if you're good at Loki, you're not going to be in the low ranks long because it's pretty easy to get up to Diamond once you figure out how to play this character. And the other two healers from over here are also going into A tier on the lower ranks. Probably in this order, I think Invisible Woman is easier to play. Her heal field range is easier, so you have a higher healing rate. The recent change to make it so that the outbound heal is bigger has bumped up her healing quite a bit. And still, even though you don't really know how to use it as well, her abilities are pretty significant. She's a great strategist. Beside her, Luna, just your lower accuracy. The lower your accuracy gets, the worse Luna gets. She might even go down to B in bronze, but she's just so impactful that she bumps up pretty quick once you get into silver, and she can hold into A tier pretty well. In the high ranks, this is where I am putting Cloak and Dagger. Their general usefulness isn't just as high as the other three. The other three are just bigger, and they're a really, really close, but not quite in the same rank, same tier. Beside them, I am putting Rocket. Rocket's still super impactful. A lot of players play him. If you like queue into like a top 500 game and you're not a top 500 player, they're going to be like, just play Rocket and spam and we'll win the game for you. Like, they value Rocket pretty highly. His respawn beacon bringing people back is big. His ultimate does get shut down quite a bit more of these ranks, but I still think he just is super easy to play, super easy to be impactful, and you're still going to see him with solid win rates. Up there with them, I'm putting Adam Warlock. The Adam Mantis Star-Lord team up has like a 75% win rate or something disgusting like that. Like, in the top end tiers of play, he is insane. Players know how to use his bind. Players know how to deal with his healing. He is a high impact character, and he belongs up here when played very, very well. There are no B tier strategists for low ranks. There is a significant gap from these 5 to the lower set of strategists. In the higher ranks, this is where I'm putting Mantis. Again, the team up with Adam Warlock has a crazy high win rate. Mantis just got a buff to increase how much she can keep tanks alive. She's quite a bit stronger than she was. She just can't break through just because of how mechanically difficult she is and how easy it can be to overwhelm her as a healer. Low ranks, C tier. I'm putting Jeff. Jeff's pretty easy to play. Jeff is maybe even B tier in bronze and silver, and then starts to drop down once you get into the higher silver and into gold, just because of how easy it is to just spray and pray heal with him. I think that he is a fine pickup, but again, the gap here is huge. But he stands above the next set of them. And the higher ranks, I'm putting Ultron there. Ultron wins if his team is winning, and Ultron loses if his team is losing, is what I like to say about Ultron. He never is the thing that changes the state of the game. If your team is doing really well, Ultron can feel really oppressive from the enemy team because a really well-played team works really well with Ultron's ability to keep everybody generally topped off and ability to do a good amount of damage. But he can't save a team that's losing, where other healers can significantly do a better job in that role. I think Ultron just doesn't really hit it. In the low ranks, D tier is Ultron. Nobody plays well enough in the low ranks for Ultron's healing to really be that good. You might get MVP playing him all the time because of the sheer amount of healing that he pumps out with his drone, but the healing isn't on the right targets that need the healing at the time, and you're just not using his kit well enough, and you're not hitting nearly enough shots. Mantis, you're not hitting nearly enough shots, you're not getting enough headshots, you don't know how to boost the right targets or who to keep healing on. She's just not played well. And Adam Warlock is the bottom there in the lowest ranks. Players are terrible about playing around Adam Warlock. They don't understand how your healing works. You're going to get people freaking out because you haven't healed them because they stood beside you for 3 seconds while your heal was on cooldown and were pinging heal me and you didn't because you can't. And Adam Warlock, you need your players to play around him, and then he jumps up. The more your team plays around Adam Warlock, the higher he gets in the ranks, and he is just not there. And then over on the other side, at the bottom, is Jeff. Jeff is the only D tier healer, I think, in the highest of ranks. He has the worst ultimate in the game. He's the least impactful healer. Occasionally, a big Jeff ult makes a huge difference, but usually a different ultimate would have made a bigger difference to actually get a win more often, and Jeff's just a disappointment there. So this is where I would say the current state of the game is. And this isn't just from like my opinions out of the blue and I'm just willy-nilly picking stuff. I am actually looking at pick rates, ban rates, team ups, swaps, all sorts of details to go into these characters and how they're kind of picked, how they're kind of played, and what is going on. The only exception I would say that might exist here is my putting of Spider-Man into D tier on both sides. I think Spider-Man is a bad character to put any time or investment into, and I might have more of a bias there than I should. That's the only character that I would really feel like you could say I am way off on. You might have a one tier swap difference on some of these, but I don't think a lot of these are going to see much more than that. You are getting a lot of value out of these top characters, and there's a lot of overlap on the two sides from both S and A tier. And I think a lot of people can agree that that's kind of where the state of the game is at. There's a lot of value in this game. Again, I could crush all these down into B plus, and it would probably be right, with the exception of maybe Black Widow over here would still be lower kind of deal. I'm pretty confident in my list here. Let me know what you think. What do you not agree with? Is there something you think I am totally missing the mark on? But this is a lot of research and thinking and experience that is coming behind this tier list. I had a good time making it. There is a lot of thinking and brain power that has to go into setting this up and thinking about how every character stands in the different tiers. But I have a blast doing it, and I hope you guys enjoyed.